When life gets tough, where do you point the finger? At your circumstances? At other people? At the universe itself? It's human nature to look for an external cause for our struggles. But what if this habit of blaming is the very thing holding us back? The Stoics taught a radical form of personal responsibility, a belief that true power comes not from controlling events, but from controlling our response to them. Today, we explore how to stop being a victim of circumstance and become the president of your own life. The strong take responsibility. If you set your good or evil on anything that is not within your own control, then as soon as you are thrown into such a misfortune or are denied such a good, you will inevitably blame the gods and hate people. Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. On the desk of American President Harry Truman stood a sign, "The buck stops here." As a president with more power and control than almost anyone, he knew that, for better or worse, he could only blame himself if something went wrong. There was no one else to pass the buck to. The chain ended there in the Oval Office. As the presidents of our own lives, understanding that our power begins and ends with our reasoned choice, we would do well to adopt the same stance. We control nothing outside this sphere, but we monitor our attitudes and reactions to events, and that is more than enough. It's enough for us to live each day understanding that there is no one else to pass the buck to. It all ends with us. Never complain, never explain. And let no one hear from you anymore how you revile life at court, and not even from yourself. Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. Once you accept this ultimate responsibility, a powerful shift happens. You realize that certain behaviors are simply a waste of time. Chief among them is complaining. It's not just that even the happiest among us complain. Sometimes it seems that the happier we are, the more time we spend complaining. Marcus Aurelius did not become a leader by choice, just as you may not be an accountant, a children's coach, or a lawyer by choice. Or perhaps you generally like your job, but you could do without some of the accompanying duties. Where do these thoughts come from? Solely from a negative mindset. This recalls the motto of British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli, "Never complain, never explain." He said this because, like Marcus Aurelius, he bore an incredible burden of responsibility. It is very easy to complain or try to find excuses for what has been done, but it achieves nothing and it never lightens your load. You chose the outcome. He was taken to prison, but that his affairs are bad. That is something each person adds on their own. Epictetus, Discourses. So we stop complaining and we take responsibility. But what does that look like in practice, especially when something genuinely bad happens? The Stoics teach us that while the event is a fact, the story we tell about it is a choice. As you've understood, such a statement reflects classic Stoic thinking. The event itself is objective, but the responsibility for how we describe it, this is unfair, this is a great disaster, it was all orchestrated on purpose, lies with us. Malcolm X, then known as Malcolm Little, went to prison as a criminal but eventually became an educated, religious, and motivated man, a participant in the struggle for civil rights. Did he suffer, or did he choose to turn his experience into something positive? Acceptance is not passive. It is the first step in the active process of self-improvement. Everything changes. Think often of the speed with which all that exists or comes into being is swept past and carried away. For substance is like a river in a continuous flow. Actions are in constant transformations, and causes are in 1,000 variations. Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. This power to reframe our story is crucial because the events themselves never stand still. The very nature of life is constant, relentless change. Marcus Aurelius borrowed a wonderful metaphor from Heraclitus. You cannot step into the same river twice, because both the river and the person are constantly changing. And life is constant change, and we are changing. To be upset about events is to mistakenly believe that they will last long. To kick ourselves or blame others is to grasp at the wind. To resent change is to falsely assume that you have any choice in the matter. Everything changes. Accept it. Drift with the changes. Hope and fear are the same. I found in our hackathon that to put an end to all desires is useful for us in curing fear. You will cease to be afraid, he says, if you also cease to hope. And the main cause of both hope and fear is our inability to adapt to the present and our habit of sending our thoughts far ahead. Seneca, Moral Letters to Lucilius. If we accept that everything is in constant flow, it challenges our most basic instincts. We naturally hope for good outcomes and fear bad ones. But the Stoics offer a radical perspective that hope and fear are two sides of the same coin. Hope is usually considered a good. Fear is usually considered an evil. In the understanding of the Stoic hecton of roads, they were one and the same. Both are projections into the future of what we do not control. Both are enemies of the present moment in which you exist. Both mean that you are living a life opposed to a more fatty. It's not about overcoming fears, but about understanding that both hope and fear contain a dangerous amount of desire and anxiety. And unfortunately, desires are what cause anxiety. Judge not. However, one should not boast even of philosophy itself. For many who boasted of it and flaunted it, it became a cause of danger. Let it rid you of your own vices, rather than denounce the vices of others. Seneca, Moral Letters to Lucilius. This entire journey of taking responsibility, of managing our fears and hopes, of flowing with change, is a deeply personal one. It is a tool for self-improvement, and Seneca reminds us of its most important rule. It must never be turned outward as a weapon of judgment. Remember that the proper aim of philosophy, of everything we do, is directed inward. To become better ourselves and to present other people with the same task for their own journey. Our mistakes are under our control, and we turn to philosophy to help us remove them, like barnacles from the hull of a ship. And what about the mistakes of others? That's different. Their mistakes are their business. Leave others' flaws to them. Stoic philosophy does not give you the right to judge, only to accept them, especially when we have plenty of our own flaws to deal with. Conclusion: the buck stops with you. Your complaints are pointless. Your story is your choice. Change is inevitable, and your work is on yourself, not on others. This is the demanding but liberating path of Stoic responsibility. It is the path to true strength and peace. If you are ready to take this level of ownership over your life, I invite you to subscribe and continue the journey with us. A huge thank you to our partners, whose support makes this content possible. Checking out their offerings is a great way to support the channel. Let's build a stronger self together.